Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance, also writing as Jennifer K. Lambert. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Nirvana. Today is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. Implementing my new plan of doing this on Tuesdays instead of Mondays, so Tuesdays and Fridays. Let me know your feedback. I kind of think you all don't care. So I think this works better for me. So, how are all of you? I have been busy, 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 getting stuff for the casita. I'm tired of hearing about the casita. Uh, but I ran just tons of errands, like yesterday and Sunday and Friday. Saturday, I was home all day. I did not get to go to the local demonstration. Um, for multiple reasons, but I support it from home. So I figure we all do what we can. Uh, I was seeing a post from someone in Coeur d'Alene saying that she was still recovering emotionally from the protest there, which is just too bad because I love Coeur d'Alene. I've been there a couple of times. It's a beautiful, beautiful city and beautiful area. We did my family birthday weekend there one year. I think 2019. Yeah, it was 2019 because it was right before pandemic. It's actually the last time that we did the full family birthday weekend. Uh, so I have a fondness for it, but I'd also picked it for that reason because we like it so much there. But anyway, it is for those of you I know living in other parts of the world who listen to this and sending me comments now and again. That part of northern Idaho and western Washington is just a viper's nest, which is insulting to vipers, of white supremacy. It's where the militia are, and and it's the stereotype. It's the bearded white guys, and apparently they were lining the parade route or the march route in Coeur d'Alene, with their carrying their automatic weapons with their fingers on the trigger and shouting hateful things. And, you know, there were other places where, and that was kind of what this gal was commenting, where it was kind of a party, kind of a celebration to do these big marches. And I feel like that's how it would have been here in Santa Fe. That, we really just have very few white supremacists, or at least vocal ones here in the city. There's more down towards Albuquerque way. And I guess, like some of them were out doing their counter protest, whatever the hell that means. They can't leave well enough alone, right? But yeah, anyway, she made the comment that it was a greater labor there than anywhere else, and I think that's really true. That like their march in that place, letting people know that not everybody thinks this way, was that's where the real impacts are. Not to say that the other ones weren't important and impactful, but yeah, the thing is that there are a lot of people who voted for Trump or who didn't vote at all that are now experiencing serious regret. And someone made the point, and I've brought this, they kind of talked about this in a different way, but I know I brought it up here, what my friend Jim Sorensen says, that no one is too corrupt for the right or pure enough for the left. And there, people were bringing this up, that we have really got to stop dissecting who's got the best values on the left and welcoming back people who are regretters. And because we're going to need that to rid our country of this horrible disease. I mean, it's this disease, right? And the and I've said this from the beginning, there are more people who disagree then think with them, but they are very, very loud, and they stand there and they yell horrible things with their finger on the trigger, and it makes them seem more potent and frightening. And they are frightening, but they're not more potent. And I think that's a thing we have to remember. So anyway, that's the political portion of our podcast. I'm actually, let me say one more thing. I'm really gratified that I'm not getting people. I got like one person commenting saying they didn't know how I could write the books I write and have the politics I have, and I feel like saying, how could you? Did you read my books? Did you actually read them? Because I am always, I mean, like when people ask me what my major theme is in my writing, that's most writers, we tell pretty much the same story over and over again. That's just part of being a human being. And that's what comes out of us. And one of my themes is power and the corruption of power. And I believe absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I am always talking about the exchange of power or the disruption of power or the corruption of power. And so, yeah, if it's very difficult for me to understand how someone could read my books and think that I am not wholly and utterly against fascism, against anything that deprives other people of their rights, of their ability to lead their lives exactly the way they want to lead them. But I started out by saying a nice thing that I appreciate that I am not getting more mean comments than I am, that all of you are so supportive. And, obviously you comprehend my books when you read them and you listen here. So you know what my message is, and that's great. There's so many things going on with other authors being attacked for speaking out this way. And I appreciate that you all are here with me in solidarity. So cheers. So the big news is the long-awaited edit letter is coming. I have a editorial meeting actually in an hour. Um, my agent Sarah and I poked them at the end of last week because, I mean, technically yesterday was originally supposed to be my due date for the revisions, and they told me they were running behind, but we don't think it was going to be that much behind. The good news is we're not so behind that we'll lose our publication date. My editor assured me of that. And she said that it's interesting because she said to me that it was all her fault. She got behind traveling and so forth. Um, and let me share with you. Let's see if I can open this easily. Yeah, my editor said to me just a very short apologizing, travels through a wrench in all her good editorial planning. She asked if I had time to chat today. She was going to send me some bullets ahead of time. That we were originally going for an August 1st transmittal, meaning turning it over to production. And she said, but that's not a drop dead date, and we can look at the revised schedule when we chat today. But then, interestingly, she said something slightly different to my agent. And I don't know if she was counting on Agent Sarah to decide how much to cushion the blow, as it were. But Sarah just passed it on whole hog because Sarah knows that I am fine with knowing how the sausage is made. And I guess I should clarify on that. Like, I had one author friend who would always say that she did not want to know how the sausage was made. She did not want to hear the actual editorial comments from her editors. She wanted to live on in blissful ignorance, and I am not that person. So what she said to Agent Sarah is, the holdup is on me, same thing, but then she said, Jeffe made excellent progress in this draft, and the story is killer, but the romance is just not hitting the way we need it to hit. And I was having trouble getting to the root of it, which actually makes me feel better because I had a feeling it wasn't hitting, but the answer wasn't obvious to me. So Deanna and she chatted, and she'll have notes for me, and so we're going to talk about it today. So while I was kind of sad, uh, when did we do all that? Like last Thursday or Friday? I guess I could tell you since I was just looking at it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this is the email I could have grabbed to begin with. Oh yeah, this was yeah, all on Friday the 13th. Go figure. Well, such is life, right? And it's not really terrible. It's but like you always hope for when you do a revision like that it will come back to you and people will say it's great. And that has happened to me before. I'm actually pretty good at revising. And so I have had people come back to me and say that I have nailed a revision. And that is, it's fantastic. So, I mean, at least the story is killer. Uh, I had to do a challenge with this romance, right? I just had to do it, and that's on me. um, but I did have a couple of people read it for me over the weekend. Assistant Corrine read it, and my friend Marcella Bernard, who writes science fiction romance and has a really interesting kind of alternate history coming out soon, kind of a new world Temeraire, which is pretty exciting. But she read it for me over the weekend too. And so they both had, I asked them to read it because I knew that they would have feelings about the romance. And so, uh, yeah, so that's great. Okay. Yeah, so they had ideas for me, and um, it's interesting because, and I've said this many times, but it's a totally valid quote, that when somebody tells you something is wrong with the story, they are almost always correct. And when they tell you how to fix it, they are almost always wrong. And and I think that's interesting because Corrine and Marcella both identified the similar problem, although they both came at it with how to fix it. And I'm not sure either of those fixes are correct. But Agent Sarah was going to read it over the weekend too. And so we'll see what she thinks. Um, but I've also been mulling, and I think I know what the problem is. It's an interesting thing with writing romance because there is so much derision for the genre, right? Oh, you know how it's going to end. It's always a happy ever after. And there's a contempt for anything too female, anything um, of the softer emotions, of the joyful emotions, right? But the thing about writing a romance that is the enduring challenge of writing a romance is that it has to be earned in order for it to land. And that's what Editor Alley is getting at with getting the romance to land, with getting it to really hit you in your heart, to really believe that these people need to be together, that they are meant for each other, that they are two people who've come together to enrich each other's lives, that they make the other a better person. Ooh, actually, that idea is really helpful, and I'm going to write it down because I'm not sure I have that element in there. Um, yeah, it's really important that their strengths complement each other's weaknesses, right? And this is kind of what we look for in our lives, right? That we want someone who makes us a better person, not just happier, but actually more capable of the things that we want to be capable of doing. Um, yeah, I mean, and we kind of see these with these echoes of the politics that I'm talking about, with the white supremacy and the whole MAGA movement, um, or I don't even want to call it a movement because I don't feel like it's that big, but it's based on hate. It's based on fear and hatred as opposed to love. And finding a story, finding a way to not just convince you that these people have fallen in love and that they make each other better and that they enrich each other's lives, but that it's inevitable that this powerful force overcomes every obstacle. And maybe I'm going to write that down too. Overcome obstacles. There's kind of this argument that's been, it's new to me, I think, in the genre world, where there's a contingent of readers and writers who dislike the third act breakup, which means that in romance, generally, the arc is that, we'll stick with couples for now, that your couple meets and is attracted, they break up, they get back together again, and happy ever after. But often the conflict is in Act 2, right? So we talk about that Act 1 is you get your protagonist up a tree. Act 2 is you throw rocks at them. Act 3 is you get them down again. Well, very often in romance, there is that Act 2, the throwing rocks, is this romance will not work out. That that there are other things. Sometimes there's other arcs, like if you're writing fantasy, there's other rocks flying, but also there are reasons why they cannot be together, right? And then they finally get together, but when they overcome those final obstacles depends on the story and on the author and also the subgenre. But there are a fair number of readers who like the obstacles in the third act and that last 25% to be external to the love affair, to be the two of them together and solid and facing the external problem, not within the romance itself. Whereas in, I want to say like straight romance or pure romance, certainly contemporary romance, very often it's only about the romance. Often historical romance is the same way. There aren't that many external conflicts, like you don't have a serial killer chasing them, or you don't have the kingdom on the brink of war, right? You have, it's more solidly about just the romance. And very often, yeah, there is that towards the end where you think that, where they break up, where we think all is lost. And having them overcome those final obstacles and make it to that, yes, I will sacrifice anything to have this love, which makes me a better human being. That's where you really get that romance punch. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I've been mulling about. And after today's meeting, yeah, I'm going to be revising. I'm afraid it's going to be I don't know. It's not going to be the last one, hopefully, but I have to hear what editor Ali has to say. But this might be a revision that's going to take more time than is ideal, especially when I'm going on book tour in 3 weeks. But it is what it is. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of timeline she suggests. So you all will have to wait until Friday to find out about these things. I know that you will be on tenterhooks until that point. I looked up tenterhooks because I used it and someone didn't know what word I meant, which is like the story of my life, right? And I found out that the tenterhooks are actually the hooks that they use to like stretch a canvas, like for a sail or a skin of an animal. So you actually pierce it with the hooks and stretch the thing. So there's a visual for you. I'll leave you with that. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you all on Friday. You all take care, okay? Bye-bye.